boring businesses can make a fortune. A lot of them, they just work by referrals anymore. They haven't run a TV ad or a radio ad in 15 years. I started working with a brand from 3 corporate locations, got to 240 locations over 18 months.
There's a case study.
In my mind, as an entrepreneur, that's the biggest problem, is hiring and finding good people. We had to buy our way out. We had to start a company. This is 2019. We start building this company up. My wife is pregnant. We have my son, Marcus, almost 10 weeks early. At 30 weeks, we get admitted to the NICU here at St. Francis. And my son was there 81 days while we were trying to figure out how to build a business, keep it going. The resilience of my wife, Amy, and going through all that with I can only tell you how everything comes down to 4 things. If you want to be a part of our team, number 1 is you have to be authentic. You have to be willing to be real about what you're feeling, your beliefs. Number 2 is you have to be open. If you're pissed off, you need to say, I'm pissed off, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I feel blank, whatever. I hated accounting. I didn't like anything about numbers. Simply the ability to know numbers, know Excel, know QuickBooks, and that makes you invaluable to almost every business entrepreneur person I've ever met. I couldn't even count how many businesses I have a sliver of because I came in and did their books, helped them get their stuff together, and did all their projections, KPIs, all those things. Right. I like watching and building and watching things take off. And I thought, okay, I want to get in this business on the side of finding those small businesses, helping them scale, getting a little piece of the action and move on. Hey, I know how to get these businesses in the system. I know what the system's like. We just need to actively find great small companies. Mm-hmm. Anything can be a franchise. It all comes down to the ability of the owners or founders to train somebody else to do it.
Welcome to the Colorado Springs Business Podcast, where we discuss business principles and provide real-life insight into the lives of everyday business owners and entrepreneurs. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe or leave a review wherever you might be listening. Now, let's talk business. We interrupt this program to bring you our sponsors, the people who help make this show possible. Dope Tees. Dope Tees is one of our fresh new sponsors that we have for you today. Dope Tees is here to help level up your style game. They're all about killer designs and top-notch quality. Seriously, go check them out. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing Dope Tees right now. This is a tee that I'm wearing that is a Dope Tee. Episode of the founder and owner of Dope Tees is coming up soon. Be on the lookout. Or it's already here, so go find it. Thank you, Dope Tees, for supporting us and helping us do what we do here at the COS Business Podcast. Curious? Head over to Dope Tees' website right now. That's www.dopeteez.biz, B-I-Z. That's www.dopeteez. Yes, check it out. We're thrilled to introduce our newest sponsor, Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Are you tired of the hassle that comes with traditional healthcare? Pinnacle is here to change the game. For just $68 a month, you get direct access to your primary care physician without the need for insurance, copays, or deductibles. Yeah, you heard that right. It's healthcare simplified. The benefits of using Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care is strong doctor-patient relationships. Enjoy extended 30 to 60-minute office visits and get the individualized care you deserve. Convenient access to care. Whether you're at home or travel the world, you can reach out to your local doctor via chat, email, or video visits. Cost-effective treatment. Pinnacle believes in radical transparency, offering you cost-effective care without any hidden fees. So, if you're ready to take control of your health and be an active participant in your healthcare journey, Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care is the way to go. Visit their website at pinnacleapc.com. That's pinnacleapc.com. Franchise Succeed. Franchise Succeed brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. Boasting a team of over 6 decades of combined experience in franchising and financial planning. They specialize in helping business owners elevate their companies through franchising. What sets them apart? Expertise in multiple industries. Whether you're in retail, finance, or energy exploration, they've got you covered. Tailored strategies. They work closely with their clients to understand the unique needs and goals, developing customized investment plans. Ethical approach. Integrity and ethics are at the core of their operations, ensuring they work with only the best and most qualified partners. They can help you. From customer service policies to million-dollar marketing programs, they've got the expertise. If you're thinking about franchising your business or need strategic guidance, look no further. That's franchisesucceed.com. franchisesucceed.com. Our next sponsor is a company I like to call, and they like to call themselves too, Planet Duct. If you're in Colorado Springs and surrounding areas and you haven't heard of Planet Duct, you're missing out. They're not just any air duct cleaning company service. They're NADCA certified specialist. Here's what sets them apart. Powerful equipment. Their team is highly trained to give your air ducts a cleaning that is literally out of this world. Comprehensive cleaning. From blowing the dust from your duct vents to cleaning the truck lines, they've got it all covered. They even clean the return drop, blower wheel, and filter compartment. Safety checks. After all that cleaning, they do a free carbon monoxide check to ensure your system is safe. Time efficient. Depending on your home size and project scope, they typically take about 3 to 5 hours to get the job done, and they get it done right. So if you're looking to breathe a little easier, give Planet Duct a call. Trust us, your lungs will thank you. Visit their website for more information at planetduct.com. Our next sponsor is Recon Marketing. And you know what? I'm going to tell you why Recon Marketing rocks. Their expertise. They know the ins and out of marketing like the back of their hand. They have many of years of experience in doing this, and you can trust them. Free consultations. Not sure if they're a right fit? They offer a free consultation to help you decide. And if that wasn't enough, the co-host of this episode today right now is Marcus Alvarado, who is the founder of Recon Marketing. Custom solutions. Every business is unique, and Recon Marketing tailors their services to meet your specific needs. Results driven. They focus on delivering real measurable results. So connect with them today. Get your free consultation today at reconmarketingservices.com. That's reconmarketingservices.com. So now we're going to dive into this amazing episode.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Jeff Alexander with Franchise Succeed. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you guys so much for making time available while I'm here in town.
This is great. Well, for one, you're a sponsor of our show, and we really appreciate everything you've done to support our show and the growth of our show over the past few months. And I mean, honestly, I love your business. I want to get into it, but first, before we go into all that, let's start with just the beginning journey of what got you into entrepreneurship from the start.
Sure. For me, it started when I was a little kid. I grew up being here in Colorado Springs. I grew up in Holland Park. I came from, we'll say, a lower income class family. And really for me is if I wanted something, I had to figure out how to afford it. And in the old days, in the back of magazines, they would have pictures of all these toys and how many items you could sell and if you sold this many items, you would get this. And you were selling stationery and gift cards and stuff door to door. So I signed up and I started selling gift cards door to door. I bought my first Nintendo that way. I bought my first video games all that way, selling stationery at 9, 10, 11 years old, door to door all throughout my neighborhood. And I found that I was pretty good at it, and I really enjoyed it. And really, for me, I think when it started, the pivot is I got a job selling cars here at one dealership, and I was about 90 days in, and I got fired. And I'm like, this sucks. And but everybody said, hey, if you can handle, they said the meetings and it was Perkins Chrysler Plymouth at the time. Oh, wow. And they used to joke. They said, if you can handle the prayer/sales meetings, it'll be great. And for me, that was fantastic because, my faith is important to me. So I was like, I can do that. So I actually got a job at Perkins Chrysler Plymouth selling cars. And I was there about 90 days. And I got brought into the office with this just general sales manager who's gruff and edgy and rough, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you don't want to take your deals to that guy, whatever. And he said, listen, here's the thing. You got to sell 10 cars this month or you're fired. 10 cars or you're fired. And I'm like, okay, I'm 19 years old. I'm like, what? I don't know what to do. I have no idea. But I was like, okay, how do I stopped and I said, okay, how do I do this? I got to find it. Who's the best here? And I'm going to stare at them and watch them like a hawk. And I'm going to outwork everyone else. And that next month, I actually sold 13 and a half cars.
Good for you, man.
Right after that, within a year, I was the top salesman at the dealership. I was then the top 3 the year after that. But it got to be a place where, there's a saying in the Bible that says, prophets never welcomed to his own town because they remember you as a little kid, not as what you are now. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is, I was still looked at as that little guy. And I was like, if I'm ever going to do something, I got to go do it on my own. And I had some wonderful friends who helped me get my start. And so I actually opened up my first car dealership here in Colorado Springs at 22 years old.
Wow.
And I had some fantastic people here in the Springs that really helped me. And I want to fast forward. That general sales manager who really pushed me hard and was going to fire me, 20 years later was the best man at my wedding.
Wow.
Nice.
So
yeah.
his name's Dale Cecil, and he's one of my closest friends. And it's interesting how those little moments really build on your life. But that for me was really what got it going. And in the car business, it was a weird time because I opened up September 1st, 10 days later, September 11th happened. Oh. Right. So interesting time to open up a business.
2001.
Or 2001.
Yeah.
Right. And so, for me in the business though, my clientele got a lot better because of people that were struggling because the economy was all whacked out and stuff. And so I was doing a ton of subprime financing and I was doing a lot of buy here, pay here. So people carrying those notes and really what I started to learn is that those notes became very valuable in bundles. And so what I started to learn to do is bundle these loans up and then sell them off to banks. So bundle a bunch of deals up and sell them off. And I did that for a couple of years, which really got me into finance, is really understanding, hey, how all this stuff works. And then figuring out how to raise some money here to be able to do that there. And, one of the interesting components of my journey was that, I was selling a bunch of cars to guys that were in the oil and gas business. And their incomes were roller coasters because they would raise a bunch of money, they'd spend a bunch of money, and then they'd not have the money. And so they'd default on car loans and they'd go. But I at one point, I think I had 26 loans out to the oil and gas guys, the managers, and all their salespeople. And so, but I developed great relationships with that. And the only reason that really matters is because years later, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I, through those relationships, invested into a broker dealer. I'm not sure if you know what a broker dealer is, but a broker dealer is like when you think of companies that go out and raise capital, or your Edward Jones or Charles Schwab, or that's a broker dealer. But in this particular case, they raised a bunch of capital and then invest the capital, and we built this whole firm to raise capital and to do oil and gas deals with the guys that I had been working with. Frankly, those deals didn't work out the way that we had hoped. And now I ended up with a broker dealer with no deal flow. I had no deals to do. I had no wells to drill, but I had all the infrastructure in place. And I was really fortunate to meet a great gentleman here, Michael Gilbert, and we together built an oil and gas company. I did the business side, he did the oil and gas side, and it worked really well. And I did that for many years. But in that, I learned how to raise capital. In that process, the swings of oil and gas are ups and down all over the place. If you hit a well, it's great. You don't hit a well, it's really bad. And so I wanted to diversify. And so I really started getting personally into franchising. So I wanted to diversify, my income and my value. So I started investing in my first businesses were in salon suites. Phoenix Salon Suites actually founded here in Colorado Springs. Nice. By Jason and Gina Rivera. They've since moved from here, I think they've got 350 locations now. Wow. When I met them, I think they might have had maybe 8 or 10. And so it's been really, really cool to watch them grow too. But it worked out very well. Very hands off, no brain damage. And I thought this could be really good. So then I started to put together groups, and I would try to go after Five Guys, burgers and fries. And I found out all the territory was gone, meaning even if you wanted one, you couldn't have it because somebody else already had the rights to it. And I thought, well, wait a second. So how does that happen? I said, well, I guess I'll try something else. Then I tried Orange Theory Fitness. All the territories are gone. So I happened to talk to one of my friends at Phoenix, was another franchisee who was also in the franchise world. He goes, well, what you need to do is become a franchise consultant. And what you'll do is you'll see these emerging, growing brands before anybody else. Then you'll catch whatever territory you want because they're gonna have a couple locations, and that's your time to jump.
It's like stock picking almost.
It is, but they're pitching you and they're coming right there. And most people in that segment are looking to be a broker where they're just, selling it to other folks. For me, I was looking at for personal, I wanted where I put my own money. And I started doing that. And I had a really great database for over my years in private equity and raising money and in oil and gas. And so I had a great database of, I think, 110,000 high net worth individuals. So it was a pretty good database to work with. And I just kind of started dipping my toe in the water in about 2017, 2018. And I sold 26 supercuts in 3 weeks. And I thought, okay, I think I have something here that I could do. And I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. So, but I realized that for me, I love watching a business from the very beginning and slowly growing into something great. I love sales, but I love watching it grow. And in that consultant role, it was simply a matter of selling it, go to the next deal, sell it, go to the next deal. Very simply like a real estate agent or whatever. And that's not the person or the business I want to be in. I like watching and building and watching things take off. And I thought, okay, I want to get in this business on the side of finding those small businesses, helping them scale, getting a little piece of the action and move on. And so really I started pivoting my business, and what I was looking for was, hey, I know how to get these businesses in the system. I know what the system's like. We just need to actively find great small companies. Mm-hmm. And anything can be a franchise. It all comes down to the ability of the owners or founders to train somebody else to do it. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to find out if it's going to be good because have they been able to get more than one location? Because if they've done more than one, they're not at both locations all the time. It means at least they've trained somebody at least to do half the job. And if they've got 3 or 4, it's really a slam dunk at that point. And so what I do now is I just look for great little companies that have great financials, but even more than that, can teach people how to do what they're doing effectively and well. And that's pretty much my entrepreneurship journey. I mean, in 25 years in 10 minutes. So
yeah.
But I will tell you, there's nothing greater than watching a young entrepreneur live out their dreams. There's really, for me, there's nothing like it. And it's so cool to watch somebody come up with a great idea in a bar on a napkin with a crayon.
Yeah, for sure.
And watch them turn that into something. And that's for me, that's the best part. The best part of any is watching that napkin idea turn into $1 million idea.
My first business was like a napkin idea. It was on like papers drawn. It was a burger delivery service before Grubhub and DoorDash was out. So I was like, you got pizza delivery, but you can't like get a burger delivery. So I was like, I'm gonna.
You should have taken it to the bank.
I scaled it out too, like on that like. It consumed my life for like a month, just like planning everything, and consumed my life like a whole like year doing like trying to execute on it. But yeah, I scaled it out. I was like, I want to see what it would take to get this to $1 billion in sales. So I was like, okay, so I need this many mopeds for this many locations, and I was going that far into the planning of it. I was like envisioning like if I were to have multiple locations. I wasn't even thinking. I was like 19 at the time, I think. So I wasn't even thinking franchise. I was just like, what would I need to expand this to that number?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that was a fun thing. And I remember I had a lot of like loyal believers in the idea as well too. People who loved the
as
the
it's
food.
Proven out, it was a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, but yeah, my moped got stolen. So
it's a barrier. That's just a barrier to entry.
Yeah, it's a small little barrier. And then like my
theft.
roommate was mad because the house always smelled like fast food. So, so there was a few things, and it was just like I decided to pursue something else. But yeah, that was a fun endeavor, and like maybe one day I'll pick it back up, but probably not because I'm working on Beam Visuals, which is my main focus right now. So yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, there's some, like, I think we have a lot of relatability to you because, like, for our show, we love to see people grow and flourish. And, like, we've had people on multiple times and we're like, okay, like, we had them on 2 years ago and then see the growth when we have them on 2 years later.
Fun.
It's so much fun. And, like, I think that's part of the purpose of this podcast is, like, just interacting with people on their journey, and everybody are in different stacks of their journey, right? You have the startups and like the excitement's high and like they maybe haven't been punched in the face just yet,
right?
All the way until like
the
seasoned business owner, like you said, who's been through that, has the scars, has the wisdom now that they gained through probably some painful experiences as well.
For sure. I think one of the things I would say I learned, I mean, it's absolutely not all fun. I will tell you, I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things I've learned, and frankly, I've been kicked in the nuts many different times and failed many different times. I think one of the cool things about it, Gary Vee, who you brought up earlier in the conversation, talks about is if you failed, you're not really multiple times, you're not really afraid of failing again. And what I've also realized is things that I've tried and done that have failed, I've learned from, and I grow a company or whatever faster back to where I was and above than I ever did before, because I'm not going to make those same mistakes again. So I think that, it's such a cool thing what you guys do on this podcast, because it really allows you, and if you're doing multiple visits, it really allows you to watch that process of, a business from its incubation all the way to, the end all goal might be an exit or, somebody riding off into the sunset. But, it's so important to be able to talk through all those spots, because I think a lot of people see these guys on social media, flying the private jet and driving the Lamborghini. Well, a lot of that's not exactly what you think it is. And, I'd much rather talk to the guy who's lost his ass 5 times, but the 6th time he figured it out, because that's somebody I can relate to, and I can believe that they really made those mistakes, and they can tell you they don't know everything. There's a great story about Henry Ford, that gets called into a room, and all these reporters are asking him, you didn't finish this amount of school, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you don't know everything. And he explains, I don't know any of that. But if you ask me any question, you guys can ask me, and I can push a button on my desk, and I can bring somebody here to answer that question for me. And it's like, that's the thing is, when you learn that you don't know everything, but you learn how to build relationships with great people like yourselves that can help you do a lot of things.
That's so important. And I think that's very hard for entrepreneurs on the solopreneur journey to do that, to give away, I guess, that control of their baby, because they're like you said, when you're giving it up to somebody else to do that job for you, it eventually becomes that where they're better at that job than you are. You know?
And I can tell you, in my world, I am, and you talk to my numerous business partners across multiple business, they say he's not good at details, he's not this, but he's good at selling, he's good at building relationships, he's good at bundling deals, he's good at financials.
Right.
But you give me a list of 25 things, I'm going to forget like 9 of them. I mean, my Google Calendar has every specific thing has to be written down on that thing, or I really struggle with it.
Yeah.
And so it's finding also great people around you. That you can rely on. And you brought up solopreneurs. There's nothing better than 10 solopreneurs working together.
Yeah.
Because that's really when, and if there's any encouragement, is make sure you're surrounding yourself as a business person with great business people like yourself who are all on that journey. But also make sure you sprinkle in some really great people who've been there, done that many times. Because if you find those right people, they're happy to share, the ups and downs and the mistakes they made. I think that's a big part of it.
You just got to be willing to listen.
And I will tell you, anybody that says I know everything is going to fail. That's a matter of time. Because something you're not expecting, the unexpected will happen.
Well, you mentioned in the beginning of your story that you were so fortunate to come into contact with all these like quote unquote mentors or strategic partners that you had. How much do you attribute your success to like having those people early on? Because a lot of people, they don't have that.
I would mentors is a good word. I would say gamblers. I think I had some great friends. One of those guys, his name is Eric Staker. He actually runs a car dealership here in town. He's been in the business for, probably 40 years now.
Wow.
And he was willing to put a gamble into a 22-year-old car salesman. He really helped set me up. He put me with the right people. I mean, he was a gambler, and he believed in me. And I would say that was a huge part of that. It wasn't so much the mentorship, but it was somebody I could call if I needed to. But it was somebody who believed in me so much. I would say, I'm not trying to get all emotional, but things like that do change your life. So I would say the people that, Barry Helton, he got me my first start in entrepreneurship, and he's been around Colorado Springs for a very long time, and those guys believed in me and gave me a shot, and because of that, I'm where I'm at now. Is those guys gambling on me, young punk kid.
What do you think they saw?
I think they saw in me a hunger. And I see people, I was up at Comedy Works last night and I see people I haven't seen in a long time. And they're like, what are you doing now? Like, and no matter what I said, they're like, yep, yeah, he could do that, because it's never been like, oh, what? But it's like, yeah, I could see why you do that. And I think there's just a passion for business and a passion for salesmanship and that whole thing. And I think that's really what it was. And they know I'm not going to quit because I just don't. Like, I fight. And I think when you have somebody like that, I think they could see it. I think they saw that I had integrity and I had character and I was going to do things the right way. And I think it was a strategic bet, and I've been fortunate to run into so many people over the years like that.
I think on the flip side of that, there's kind of a full circle moment of, like, a lot of younger people are afraid to reach out to older people because they're like, well, what value can I offer them?
That is where the money is. And I don't say money like physically, but I say that is where the knowledge is and the power. There are so many people in so many industries here in the Springs that would be happy to sit down with you over coffee, and you just have to ask, and that's the thing. Is like we're so afraid of somebody saying no and I guarantee if you ask the average person for 5 minutes, they'll give you 2 hours.
It's so true. I think there's just preconceived notions of like these people in these high areas don't have the time for me, but rather like I'm only 32, about to be 33. Like, I love seeing someone in their early 20s doing something because it reminds something of me back in that time frame of like, oh, like it reminds me of me being so hungry, not really having the knowledge base, but the hunger and the drive is something that is inspiring even to me looking at someone 10 years younger than me. So I think a lot of them, I'm sure they saw that in you, is you might have reminded them of them in earlier years.
For sure. And, the opportunities for young people, and I say young, I guess they're just kind of rough for me to say now, but for young people in their 20s to be mentored is so high now. This generation of folks in their 65 to 80 years old, these guys have successful businesses that they don't want to run anymore, and a lot of times these folks don't want to hand them. The kids don't want them. Their son doesn't want them. Their daughter doesn't want them. So they're sitting here with this very successful plumbing company that they've built over the last 35 years, and they're about to retire. I guarantee you, there are multi-million-dollar deals out there for you to just go in and say, I want you to teach me how to do this, and I'd love to buy the business from you down. I guarantee you,
100%.
There's hundreds of millions, if not billions and billions of dollars just in Colorado for that. And I guarantee you there's so many businesses like that just in Colorado. You look at the military, retired military folks who retired here, started a business, now they're on their second retirement. There's a lot of opportunity for somebody who's willing to get their hands dirty and work. And I think that there's never been a time, probably since World War II, that the opportunity has been as good as it's going to be for the next probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah, well, we're seeing like the largest generation start to retire, right? The
Sure.
baby boom generation. And who are they going to hand off that business to? A lot of their kids might not want it. In fact, a lot of them don't want it.
They don't. They know what that was like, and they're about to shut down a business doing $2.5 million a year.
Huge opportunity,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. It's mind-boggling. Now it's going to take you a lot of effort to find them. There's a lot of folks online that are talking about it, but it's the truth. If you're willing to just step in, you don't need to be a plumber to run a plumbing company.
Yeah.
You don't need to be, you don't need to be in those home services or whatever to run that. You just need to be able to, and especially if you can find a business that's, I'll maybe say stagnant, but has a website from 1992 in there, 96, or and they don't have a Google reviews. They don't have. I mean, if you can go into a business and help them and show them how to build all that, and show value, trust me, you're going to be in line if you put the right pieces and parts in place.
Yeah, it's so true. Do you know who Cody Sanchez is?
That's I mean, she speaks about it all the time, but it is a absolutely real thing. And frankly, even in my business, I'm looking to target those folks because they have fantastic established businesses, and the ability to scale something like that with the right people is very high because it's been proven. I mean, you do a couple $1 million a year in revenue for 10 years, that's about as stable as it gets. And a lot of times they the owner goes in, he kind of looks around, looks at his employees, makes a cup of coffee, sits down at his desk, maybe does some accounting, and goes home. I mean, it's not like, and I'm not saying that's the way all the time, but if they've done a great job, that's it. And how sad is it for somebody who's built a business for 20 plus years to know that if he leaves, the door's going to get locked and all those employees are going to quit. And that's got to be tough. That's going to be really tough too. So I think it's great for so many people. It's great for the founder of the business, and it's great for the person that's willing to put, their hard work and effort on the line to do it. And but that's the fun part of entrepreneurship. You don't have to come up with a great idea. You just got to be willing to work, to learn new skills and have new talents to be able to let you do other things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is also the intimidation factors for a lot of these entrepreneurs who, like you said, you don't have to be a plumber to run a plumbing business. You have to have a business sense, and you got to add a level of technology or something that updates their current process, and then you're off to the races. But I do think there are, like I said, a lot of entrepreneurs intimidated with going into a business they've never been into before. So like for you to talk to that specific entrepreneur, what would you suggest they do? I mean, obviously there's got to be some level of like understanding of like what it means to actually acquire a business, right?
Sure. I would say my value and how I've got into the opportunities that I've gotten is frankly learning accounting. I hate accounting. Now, okay, I'm going to say this differently. I hated accounting. I didn't like anything about numbers. I didn't like anything, but simply the ability to know numbers, know Excel, know QuickBooks, and that makes you invaluable to almost every business entrepreneur person I've ever met, because it's most of the time, those folks hate that.
Yeah.
So I can only tell you, I couldn't even count how many businesses I have a sliver of because I came in and did their books, helped them get their stuff together, and did all their projections, KPIs, all those things.
Right.
Because if they don't know how to do it, they might be the greatest salesman and be able to sell anything to anybody, but they have absolutely no idea how to sit down and put all those pieces and parts together, or file a state sales tax return, right? So,
or they just don't like it,
or both, right? Both.
I know I don't like it, but I know how to do it.
Right. But the thing is, you want to make yourself invaluable. Say, let me come in. I'm very interested in your business. I'd love to come help, and I'd love to look at your books and help you fix those. I can do that. I'd love to teach you how to maximize your Google exposure. I want to get you online. I want to do that. How many feet in the door could you get if you're willing to do websites for free?
Yeah.
How many? I think it would be countless.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You say, listen, I would like to come in for free. And what are they going to say? What's the catch? Catch is if I do a great job, you teach me about your business.
Right.
Who's willing to do that? Not many, right?
So that's kind of like the strategy to get in the door. If you want
the
to
jab,
hire.
jab, right hook that Gary Vee talks about. Give it away, keep going. And that's the thing. And the hook is teach me about the business and show me, and I'll show you how I think I can help you. And if you're interested in doing something down the road, I'd love to do something for you. I guarantee you. And we all know in the modern era, you can take an average website, you can flip it overseas, or you can flip it to an AI. I've watched AI create websites in 20 minutes that would have taken months before. So the reality is you can do all this for very, Chat GPT and those kind of things are radically changing the speed of everything and the effort it would take. But I guarantee you, if you got on the phone today and called 25 people and said, I'd love to, completely free, no obligation, I'd like to show you a modified website of what your website could look like. And I'm going to give it to you for free. You don't have to use me for anything else, but I'd love to learn more about your business, because I think I'd love to get into the home services side, or I'd love to get into the whatever it is, right? Because I'm looking for a business that I can plant my flag in.
So the goal is to acquire the business eventually.
Absolutely.
Okay, sweet.
And I mean, I'm giving you one, heck, I'm just giving you one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I joke, I'm one beggar showing another beggar where some bread is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing. I can tell you how I find businesses. I look for fireworks. I look for social media hits. I look for people going crazy. I look for guys like Keith Lee showing up at your restaurant and putting you a 3-hour wait out the door, right? That's what I'm looking for, because I know that as soon as it happens, it's lightning in a bottle, right? I'm looking for established great businesses that take fire, and that's the thing. It's like, we wouldn't have heard about a Raising Cane's 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you know?
I barely heard about it this year.
Yeah, right. You know, and then it gets habit forming and then you don't know what to do, you know? And so, and that's the thing, like you look for those great opportunities and that's what I do. But similarly, you can look at if the business was founded in 1970, it's probably a good time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a perfect business to go after. You know, if you see vans around town with the logo on the side, look kind of old, that's a great business.
Yeah, longevity is a big piece to an established business.
Well, you know, that person's been doing it 20-something years.
Well, and stand the test of time, right? You're talking about how many different types of market collapses. You're saying it's 1970 or 80.
Right.
There's been so many since then.
Right. And if you're still running so-and-so plumbing or so-and-so carpentry or so-and-so whatever.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of businesses out there that you'd have no idea that make the money they are, like water and mold mediation. I mean, you're like, what? But believe it or not, that's a huge business, you know?
Yeah. Cody Sanchez she says, you know, the whole boring business process, right?
It is absolutely the truth. And those boring businesses can make a fortune.
Absolutely.
Especially if they get modernized. Because again, most of those folks, a lot of them, you know, they just work by referrals anymore. They haven't run a TV ad or a radio ad in 15 years, you know? And that's the best part about it, is that if you can find something like that and take it, you know, take a good look at it, find the right people, it could really truly be a fantastic opportunity. And for what I'm looking for is I'm probably looking for more emerging brands. So and what I do is I'm looking for a brand that's maybe 2 to 3 or 4 years old, that they've got all the kinks out of, that's generating good revenue that you can get in for a relatively inexpensive amount of money.
I've got the perfect lead for you. And we brought it up on our call, the last call we had. And I just need to make the connection for you.
Yeah.
I think they're great. They've been on this podcast before, and they're franchising. They already have 3 locations.
Yeah.
And they're an amazing company. I can shout them out. Brush Crazy. Yeah. And I can make the connection for you specifically. It's Brush Crazy. They do a paint and sip kind of thing.
That's fantastic. So I started working, just to give you an example, I started working with a brand early, one of my first brands in development, and from 3 corporate locations, we got to 240 locations over 18 months.
There's a case study for Doug and Don. You hear that?
It's in a painting, a very similar painting concept.
Interesting.
It's a great business.
It's a great business. You have to have some differentiators. You got to make it easier. And you know, I would say for me, what I was seeing right now is the business that have the least number of employees are going to be the most successful, because I can tell you that is the new thing, is you've got to figure out how to fill those roles, because that's what, in my mind as an entrepreneur, that's the biggest problem, is hiring and finding good people.
Yeah, and they have to hire artists as well too. So that's actually a cool thing for them, because a lot of artists, like, you could either go work at McDonald's or you could go work at Brush Crazy, which is probably a lot funner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd be happy, but that's a perfect type business. You know, anything that you know you can have 1 or 2 people that operate and run effectively and do well can be very successful.
And it's a couple. It's a
that's great.
Husband and wife that run it.
And when you imagine, like, you know, what I've seen in the last really 5 to 7 years is hourly rates for employees have climbed drastically.
Yeah.
You know, the days of hiring somebody for $15 an hour have long gone, right?
Yeah.
Especially in Colorado. I mean, I can't imagine, you know.
I got paid $7.25 in my first job.
Right. You know, and it's just wild to see. I remember my first job here, I was at the Hungry Farmer. If you guys are probably too young to remember the Hungry Farmer, but the Hungry Farmer was a restaurant, which now Chick-fil-A up on Guard of the Gods. And, you know, I really want to, and I should have spoke to this before, but my first job was at the Hungry Farmer. And your first job at the Hungry Farm was called a side stand. And your job, no kidding, for 8 hours a night was to fold napkins in a special way, which I can still fold them like crazy now. You put them in a glass with silverware. Mm-hmm. 400 or 500 a night, plus just doom, 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 all night. That's all because your goal, if you were the best and did great, they might move you up to a food runner. Then you could run the food out. And then once you did a really good job as a food runner, if you did a great job, you could become a busser. in most businesses, like the busser is a turd job, like the worst
Right.
job you could get. But the hungry farmer, the thing about the hungry farmer is the bussers who got the real tips, because they did what was called high pours. And we'd pour coffee on chairs into cups on the ground. I can pour 2 cups of coffee in my back pocket.
What the
Still do
heck?
it today. And so anybody who's been at the hungry farmer, you know.
That's awesome.
And so I remember working my ass off from folding napkins so I could maybe be a food runner, and then working my rear end off as a food runner just so I could have a chance to be a busser.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to say at the end of the day, that work ethic of being willing to do what it took to fight through that, to become able to bus tables, was really a big thing for me and a big deal for me. And so I would like to say that too, because it wasn't just about sales. It was about working your butt off in a job that sucked to have a chance to do something that was fun. And I think a lot of people, especially today, want to jump to the job that's fun.
Yeah.
You might need to have a couple of jobs that suck first,
because
you're going to learn more about yourself and what you're capable of in those sucky jobs than you are in that job, you know. But I remember, you know, I'm young. I was maybe a junior in high school working there. And I remember busting a table fast, and a lady walked over to me and said, "I want you to have this, because I've never seen anybody work in a restaurant as hard as you." And she handed me $100 bill.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hundo. Okay.
But I can think about it. I'm 46, and 30 years ago, I can remember that.
Wow.
And I remember what the lady looked like. I can remember what happened. And I was just so like disheveled at that moment, because I thought, I wasn't proud of the $100 bill. I was proud that somebody watched. And that's the thing. Like, how would you work and how would you act if somebody's watching you all the time? You know, and that was a big thing to me. It's like somebody's always watching. And so when you're working at work or when you're building your own business, if you woke up, we would make so many different decisions if we knew somebody's watching us all the time. I think Gary Vee or maybe it's Grant Cardone, one of those guys talks about it. It's like, how would you operate if when you woke your eyes up, they had a camera in your face, like, and you had everything you did was that. I think that's a big part of that, is being willing to live that way. Like, you know, you're sleeping until 12 o'clock in the afternoon, probably not the best decision, right? I mean, so I think it's combining work ethic with maybe being risk adverse, you know, and being willing to take some risks. And I think there's a bunch of things that all go into it. But I don't even know how we went off on the hungry farmer tangent, but
minimum wage.
Oh, but the thing about that is that the rates today are just not what they are.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I try to figure out in the businesses that I'm a part of is, where'd all the people go? You know, if you text that on a social media post, people think, you know, you're crazy and you're nut job and living wage and all that. I was like, I just don't know what's happening, because 2 years, you know, pre-pandemic, I could put a posting out for a job and I'd have 50, 60 applicants. If you do it today, you'll get 5. And not at the same rate. We've raised all of our rates $5 to $8 an hour from where they're at. So, I mean, we have jobs, we've had post jobs for $22 to $27 an hour with 3 applicants. And you're like, what are you, I mean, like, there's no way to figure it out. You know, it's like, what are we missing here? You know? So I think there's so many opportunities out there for people to make a great living without working at a traditional job, that's where people are. You know, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something, you know, and you know, I it's just amazing to me, that dynamic. And that coming back to, if you're going to have a business, you got to make it so it can be lean and mean, because if you don't, it'd be definitely be a challenge.
Lean and mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, not a lot of overhead and not a lot of employees. Something that's simply managed. That's
my business.
That's right. Well, and you know what I tell people, and when people are looking for a business, this is what they're looking for: how much money am I going to have to put up? How much money can I make? And how much brain damage is it going to cost me? That's really what it comes down to. So in the franchising world, and somebody's looking to buy it, that's what they're going to ask.
They're expecting brain damage. That's
no, but see, the most popular brands right now are brands that people want to be passive. They don't want to have to be there and live there and do all that. Problem is, there's not many brands that really are like that. They'd love to tell you that, but that's nearly not the case.
Yeah.
You need to have a fantastic, the other biggest thing that I've learned too is today, and again, I'm just saying in my experience, and I'm saying it across the board, most folks will work hard enough not to get fired unless they see a path for themselves to be successful, having their own business, getting a promotion or whatever. And there's so many on social media, and what you see is that you'll see people say, there's a guy, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he talks about, well, why, I've seen your work production drop off so much. Well, he goes, yeah, because I've been the top producer for a couple of years and nothing changed. So I'd rather work at the level of my compensation. The ladies the HR ladies freaking out. But it's the thing is like, you have to give folks an opportunity to be successful. The thing about entrepreneurship is you sign your own check. Your effort and energy and guts and blood, sweat, and tears is going to dictate that.
You either sign your own check or you sign your own death certificate.
Right. Or you strap yourself with so much debt and you're trying to swim and trying to figure out how to get out of it, and you work your way out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I can only tell you how many businesses I've run for years without getting a paycheck. People look at it like that's bonkers, but it builds over time. Most businesses don't make money for a year or two. And the average Joe can't figure that out. Like how will you survive? But that means you're not wired.
Make it happen.
Like us at whack jobs, right? We're we don't we're wired differently.
I think it's a lot of it is just these cultural narratives of like instant gratification with so much. You see so much on social media of like like Gary said, another Gary Vaynerchuk, he says being entrepreneur is cool now. Like when he was doing it, he's like, it wasn't cool to do it. Right. And so like, I think a lot of people jump into this expecting to quit their job, to make $1 million their first or second year, and all these different things. And another thing that gauges success that I found too, which is funny that you brought it up, was like the numbers game of like, oh, we have a business that has 20 something employees and blah, 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 blah. And I'm under the impression like you are, I'm like, I want mine lean and mean. I want my gross margins to be where they need to be and so on and so forth. Cause I understand at this point in my career as an entrepreneur, like what that means to have margin and scale that way with systems. But like, what can we do to, again, I think that goes down to the jobs too, right? Cause who's going to take on a $20 an hour job when they're trying to be whatever, a professional YouTuber or whatever it might be. They don't understand the delaying of the gratification to building something worth building, right? And like you're talking about the hungry farmer, that's just such a cool story because it was like you just wanted to get, you wanted your stepping stones to get to your ultimate goal, but you're delaying your gratification. Maybe you could have gotten a job as a server somewhere else if you really wanted to, but you didn't. No. And so how has that changed in recent years for kids?
I think, I think the willingness to put up with brain damage is drastically limited. I think that, somebody said something really interesting to me that I never considered. So I grew up as a kid playing video games, and I played the old school NES. I played Legend of Zelda. I played Super Mario Brothers. You're playing Super Mario Brothers and you're playing Mario dies. When Mario dies, that third or fourth or fifth death, it's done. You go all the way back to World 1-1. And that action over and over says, hey, if you die, you start all over. 20 years later, you save your game and you get to start at World 4. You get to start at World 6. And I think that is drastically a model of exactly what the problem is that you don't feel the pain anymore. When you lose the football game and you get a trophy, there's no pain. So for me, I think people are motivated by hope for gain or fear of loss. When you take away the fear of loss from everybody, what you've done is you've made a playing field where there's what's the point? Like, why am I going to do this? Like, if I can sit at home and I think it's a part of a motivation, and maybe I don't want to say it's if I can pay my bills for $2,000 a month, I'm going to make $2,000 a month, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to live at home. I'm going to make $2,000 a month, and I'm happy. And I think there's also a pivot towards that, like. It's not keeping up with the Joneses. Like, when I grew up, it was keeping up with the Joneses. Like you wanted, like they had a good car, so I wanted to have a good car. They had this, I want to have this. So, and I don't see that in the same way that I used to see it. So in the team that we have now, they want to earn their paycheck and go home. And they are really happy with that. And that's great. And that's fine. And then there's the outliers that they want to build an empire, right? And so you have both sides. I think that we have to figure out a way to create cultures in our businesses that people love going to work and love being there and feel like they're making a difference in the job and in their place. Because if you don't have that, a paycheck will not work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's all paycheck, it's simply a matter of every 2 years you're going to go get a new job with a bigger paycheck. Because the fact is you can. If you move jobs every 2 to 3 years, you will get a bigger paycheck every time you move. Because that's just how it works. But we have to create environments that have meaning. And we have chiropractic offices. And what we have to establish in that is that we are investing as much in our staff, our teams, and our people as we are the patients. And if they feel like they are genuinely loved and cherished and cared for in those practices, our staff and our teams, then that's going to reflect in how that is. And if we don't do that, then we're not going to keep those folks, because we need to we have to be able to provide so much more than a paycheck, so much more than benefits. Because if you're not doing that, you're a better benefit or a better paycheck away. And so we have to create environments where people love being there. And, even though it sucked, I loved being at the Hungry Farmer. Why? I don't know. I did. And it was but it was a hunger. It was, everybody was gunning, everybody was running, and I think that was a part of it. And I think that if we can create environments that give people the feelings that they need, the support they need to be successful in many more areas than just their job. So in our connected health practices, we say it's connected family, connected life, connected health. And what we want to do is we want to help our staff, our teams, and our patients connect better with their family, connect better in their life, and connect better with their health. And when you think about it that way, if we can do the same things for our patients that we do internally and internally for our patients, we'll have something special. And that's the thing. I think you have to provide so much more than a paycheck.
That's where the workforce is going.
Yep. It has to, and it's not ping pong tables. And
yeah.
But for years people thought it was ping pong tables and good lunches and beanbag chairs.
Yeah.
It's not. It's relationship.
Yeah.
It's, I come to work because I changed lives at work. Teachers in the modern era, they teach because they want to, even though it's very challenging and very difficult. They make not enough money, and yet they go to school every day with classes that have too many kids in them who have all kinds of issues because they believe in what they're doing. So we have to create an environment that serving our customers, serving our patients, serving our people is just like that, where people are understand we are making a difference in your business. And people say, well, how do you make a difference in your business? I went to Urban Egg today after not being at Urban Egg for 4 years. The waitress came over. How's it going? I haven't seen you in so long. I haven't been here 4 years.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She goes, you have a wife and 2 little ones. I'm like, yeah. And
Did you go there a lot?
I did a lot, a lot. But I
still,
love that place. But
4
I can't.
years.
But that's the thing. Like, they came back and then they said, guess what? There's one in Overland Park. And I'm like, I will drive. I'll drive from my house up to Overland Park, Kansas.
That's in Kansas City. That's
Right.
where
They're building.
our previous guest, literally the one that just aired today, his wife is from Overland Park.
Yeah, and they've built one there, and I was like, I didn't know, but now I know,
Nice.
so I'll
I
make
didn't
the
know that
drive.
either.
I'll make the drive. But that's it. Why was the first place I wanted to come back here there? Because I had much more than a Southwest Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience, right? And why was she there? She's been there 11 years. She told me 11 years.
The one
I
right
worked in a
over there?
restaurant right over here
Downtown?
on North Nevada.
Oh, nice.
Right over on North Nevada. 11 years as a server. So obviously she makes good money, but what is she? She loves the brand. And one of the things I say, are you writing for the brand? Like, the cowboy days, like, when you think Yellowstone's really, super popular, and you think about all that, right? How do we get everybody on the same page in what we're doing, that we're all trying to build something cool together? And how does everybody get to be a part of that? And I think that's, again, about culture. And you have to be able to have something like that, because if not, you are a paycheck. You are a job. And you don't want to be a job, because who wants to go to a job? I've had a job working for somebody else 3 or 4 times in my life, and I've been fired 3 or 4 times in my life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work so well.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not that I don't work well with others. I don't work well for others, right? But it's because a lot of guys like us are wired in a way that says, we don't like, the worst thing that happens to me is, we've always done it this way, or that's the way we do it. We don't do it any other way different. And that's literally cost me my job one time, is that I was like, well, that way is stupid. We should do it this way. And
I'm always doing that too.
and we did it this way. And, we almost quadrupled profits by doing this. And I still got fired.
Jesus.
Because I was running a dealership group. And the location was in the bottom. It was at 115. It was in the bottom. I think it was 110 out of 115 in profitability. And I took it into the top 10 within 90 days by changing all these things. And then I got put on a plan to get it back to the way it was, because we don't do things this way. And I just was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So,
wow. That's
it was
crazy.
like, we had some of the highest profitability and the highest customer satisfaction, and it still didn't go. So I was like, okay, we're out.
I don't understand. People just don't like to change, I guess. Huh?
Well, and there might be more. There's some more defense. There might be more to the story there.
Okay.
I couldn't figure it out, but you've got to be willing to be nimble. You got to be willing to be plugged into your folks. And I think there's, and we're on a bunch of obviously different tangents, but the reality is this entrepreneurship journey is a lot of tangents. It's everything from great mentorship and how to find good people to work with. It's how to build a great culture inside of your business. It's, understanding the cores of financials and how to deal with that, or finding great people who know how to do it. There's the thing that I love about it is, I don't think that there's any single day that's the exact same, because you better be learning. And I think that the whole fun of entrepreneurship is the challenge of entrepreneurship. It's to figuring it out. And, it's like a big puzzle that you don't really know what the end, you have a picture of what it kind of looks like, but you're really not sure. You think it's a beach, but it might not be. It might be something else.
I think I'm like a 1/10 of a mile away from hitting that point. I think I'm that close. So I'm pretty pumped.
It's the greatest game of all time, right? 24/7.
It is. And how fun is it to wake up in the morning excited that you get to do what you get to do? I think for me, that's the best part. I ask people, is like, if I put a bunch of money in your checking account tomorrow, what would you do today? And
put it all in ads.
Credit card. And the thing is, I would do the exact same thing I'm doing, because I love it. Yeah. And if you can't say that, then figure out what that is. And that's and not everybody's entrepreneurship. A lot of people love to go to work. They want to put their time into being at home with their families, and that, and there's nothing that's wonderful. And you have to obviously have a smart balance as an entrepreneur with your family, and that's super critical. I've got a lovely wife and 4 wonderful kids. 2 out of the house. And
who did you forget?
Yeah,
no, just kidding.
So I've got
you got 2 with you. That's
I got 24, 23, 7, and 4. So
one of them's been on this show. Cut to a clip.
And that's the thing. So when if you're really successful, is you watch your kids be successful, and watching.
Awesome.
I mean, that's the truth. And if anything that I've been able to do, and it's, or I'm really proud of, is resilient kids. And it's, if you can get kicked in the mouth and get up and keep going, that's awesome. I think if that's one thing my kids have got from me, then that's fantastic. And that's, if anything, that's what I would say is probably the most important thing. And you better be ready for it as an entrepreneur, because it's going to happen.
just in life, if you build people who are resilient against adversity, is like,
Right.
if you want to have a child, whether an entrepreneur or not, they have to face adversity at a very high level. And like dealing with that once they do get kicked in the mouth is a very, very important skill to develop throughout the rest of your life. Right. It's super important.
Well, if you can't do that, I think that you're going to be in the rough shape. I think that you'll be in a situation where you won't know how to take care of yourself
You
and
can
other
live with your
people.
parents till you're 40.
Yep. And the thing is that you have to figure out it's one what's next. Like, you know, it's like, okay, this happened, so what do I do now?
Mhm.
You know, and the more resilient you are, the easier it gets. Like, you know, bad things happen to everybody, but you also find out what's really important too. You know, I was in the probably one of the biggest things that I've personally had to go through is my wife and I had just had to exit a franchise. We had to buy our way out. We had to start a company, and this is 2019.
Mm.
And we start building this company up, and my wife is pregnant, and we have my son Marcus at almost 10 weeks early.
What?
So at 30 weeks, we get admitted to the NICU here at St. Francis, and my son was there 81 days. He was in the NICU 81 days while we were trying to figure out how to build a business, keep it going, keep everybody, you know, all in place. And the resilience of my wife, Amy, and going through all that with I can only tell you how challenging it is. We were, you know, we had a wonderful team of doctors and nurses and that just did everything right. And so many things well. But the resilience to keep going through that and then come right out of that and go right into COVID was kind of, it's kind of fun, right?
You're just diving up and down out of the water.
But again, it's being resilient. And that little guy, you know, came out of there and he just celebrated his 4th birthday. And he's a wonderful, fantastic kiddo. And he and my daughter Charlotte are wonderful. But again, you have a choice to give up.
You do, yeah.
That's a perfect time to go, this sucks, I'm out. Like, right? But you can't. You got to go. You got to keep fighting. And that's the thing is, you know, I could not do what I do without my wife. So you also have to have a good partner. You know, if you ask my wife, Amy, what she does, she'll say she stays at home with the kids. That's not what she does. She does accounts payable for multiple businesses. She does payroll for 30-something employees. But if you ask her, she'll say, I stay home with the kids. And there's not a big decision I make that we don't make together, that we talk through everything. And having her believe in me and having that support system is unbelievably critical. So even as an entrepreneur, you can't really do it by yourself. Because if you've got, you know, a spouse or a significant other, you got to have the right one who's going to be willing to think, man, my husband is wacko. He's nuts. But hey, it's kind of worked out pretty good sometimes.
Were there years where you didn't have a spouse when you were doing your entrepreneur stuff?
Many years. So my wife and I have been together for 9 years or so. But yeah, I had a pretty good long window, and I surrounded myself with good friends and those are the times again you look out for mentors in those relationships. And like I was talking to my friend Dale, I spent, you know, he had been in the business for, you know, car business for years, and so there's a lot of folks that again, one of the big things I would say is that you are going to be mostly like the 5 people you hang around the most. We have always heard that book, whatever. I'm absolutely telling you it's the truth. And I hung around with cool people.
Yeah. It gets thrown around a lot these days, but it's the truth. Yeah,
it is. And I can tell you. And, I can't remember. There's a guy online. I can't remember, but he's got a really good big network of friends, and they all track what they make.
Oh,
and
really?
They all track together and like how many days off they have and everything. And it's just funny to watch, but the more time he spends, you see his name move up or down with the group out of these 20 guys. So it's like, yeah, I spent this vacation with them and his numbers went up, and I went out with these guys and my numbers went down. And it's it's the conversations you have, it's the discussions you'll have, it's how you want to be, and so, I think on both sides, I think it's really important it's just the team you have around you, whether it be your spouse or whether it be your best friends or your mentorship group or whatever it is. If there's anything you need that the more than anything else, because that's what's going to get you by when you, I joke with my son, Jason, that entrepreneurship's like a journey where this day you're going to go buy a private jet, and this day we're going bankrupt. I'm going to jump off the house, and this day we're going to, it's like boom,
For sure.
boom, all over the place. But that is, and you have to handle those swings.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of swings.
and so being able to handle that is being able to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. What should I do?
Mm-hmm.
And having somebody has maybe not the right answer, but says, man, I've been there. It sucks. Here's how I did it.
Yeah, it's important to have someone that's been there, I think, because if you're telling someone that hasn't, they're not going to fully understand what you're going through. I feel like, because and you're also they're going to judge it in ways that they don't understand, I think, so I think it's important to find someone that has gone through similar struggles that you might have been going through, because you also may just get bad advice too from that.
Right. Well, that's why you have more than one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have a couple different guys you call, and I think that always just being open and I think is a big part of it. One of the things that's a big in connected health, the chiropractic and integrated medical brand we work with, is that I say that everything comes down to four things. If you want to be a part of our team, number one is you have to be authentic. You have to be willing to be real about what you're feeling, your beliefs, all that. Number two is you have to be open. If you're pissed off, you need to say, I'm pissed off, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I feel blank, whatever. So if you're authentic without being open, it doesn't go anywhere. And if you're open without being authentic, it doesn't go anywhere, right? So you have to be honest and real about where you're at and being willing to talk to myself or the team about where you're at. The other one is you have got to be coachable. You can't believe that you know everything, because you're going to have so many of your own barriers in your own way that you have placed there. You can always get better at anything that you do. And the big one for us is teamwork. You have to be a good teammate. It can't be all about what you can do. It's about how do we all rise together and how do we all make everybody's life better. And if you don't have those four, you're not a part of our team.
Oh, it's so important. And when I worked at a really great agency with a really good culture, we also implemented peer reviews, and that was huge too, just because I forgot if it was anonymous or not, but like getting review. I'm talking about like top to bottom. So like I got to review the CEO of a $180 million marketing agency.
That's awesome. That would be cool.
And so like, and then you learn so much about what people think of you, and like, again, highlighting, like I got this award from the peer review of like burning the midnight oil. I love that award because it meant like I was there first in the morning. I was the last to leave. Like, again, going back to you being a hard worker, that's something I always felt about myself, but it was getting validated externally within my workplace. And it was huge, like, again, building up that transparency and having that in a place that you work is very important, because a lot of times it does feel very isolating when you're working very hard and you don't know who's seeing what or what's picking up on what, right?
Well, and I think if the anonymous component would make it much more, because a lot of people aren't willing to do that. But we one thing we try to do is just brutal honesty. Like, it sucked. We know it's coming. Like, you're like wincing, ready to get blasted, and that's the thing. You have to be willing to, I've got to be willing to accept it, just like as much as dishing it out. I'm not much of a disher, but I'm much of a, I'm willing to listen. And because I know, like anything else, I know I have weaknesses. I have things that I could do better at, and I think that being willing to listen to being constructive feedback is a very important part too, like you said, and being able to give it too, and being able to pay attention. Like I said, be a good teammate. Can't be all about you and what you're gonna, it's about how do I help everybody. And that's one thing I love about the culture. What we created is all our doctors call each other all the time.
Love it.
Talk about how do I help you? What's going on? Man, this sucks. I'm having a really bad month. I can't, we're not getting new patients, and they have sounding boards for each other. And I think that's so important, is being able to be a part of a group together. And it's really a group of entrepreneurs all together building their own businesses, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like as you were explaining it. It's like, it sounds like they have to go out and find their own clients.
Yeah. And then, obviously they do that, and they do marketing and do all those other things too. But it's really cool that they have sounding boards. You're not on an island. And that's one of the biggest things I think is so many businesses also end up on that island and then they don't know what to do. Like it's a very lonely island, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very lonely to be able to try to build it all by yourself. Because honestly, who are you going to high five when you have a great month? If there's no one there, right? It sucks, you know?
You're going to high five the money.
Back money.
You know what? It doesn't high five you back. It just goes in your account and you're like, now what, you know?
Exactly.
You go buy some trinket and 60 days later, like, that was dumb. You know, I mean, there's nothing more important than relationships with other people. And that's what I would say. More than anything else, you want to be a successful entrepreneur, have great relationships. You want to be a good, successful human being or person or father or brother or friend or mother, daughter, whatever. Put your energy into relationships with other people because they'll have the best return.
Amen. Simon Sinek says, if you don't know people, you don't know business. It's very important to build those relationships. And so like he was just saying something about like having the sounding boards and it's so important. And like we had a guest on, one of our best friends, his name's Brian. He runs an axe throwing business and a whole other like event company that supplements for corporate events. But he lost his mother 2 years ago this month. And he was talking about like, my mother didn't have the answers to like 95% of the things but she was there and she listened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to, I think it was more important for him to just like voice what's going on in his heart and his head more than anything, just to get it out there. And for someone to listen, whether they had the answer or not, is like so important for everybody, you know, because this world that we live in, it's so isolating. It's very, especially when you're starting out, like you feel like you're alone in a lot of it. If you don't have that, you know, group of people, of other entrepreneurs, it can be very isolating. It's like one of the first things I hear from a lot of my friends who just start businesses for the first time. And I've definitely felt that many times. And so I thought like you having that and instilling that culture in your businesses and everything that you do is just like, it's so mission critical to get to that next level as a business because it's more than just a job then, right?
Absolutely. Well, like you have, again, it's about building in other people. If it's all about you, it's all about you. If it's all about building into these great relationships, help. Because the thing is this, you know, we can have two different marketing companies and we can work together on projects. Because the reality of us, we're not really trying to compete against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no real point, especially across state lines and nationally, nobody, they're not competing against each other. It's just not the reality of it, right?
There's abundance.
Right. There's so much out there. So there's no reason to not work with some great people in your area to figure out how to be successful. Because you can have multiple, I mean, one plumber is not going to handle all of Colorado Springs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that 10 plumbers can handle all of Colorado Springs, you know? And so the reality is there's no reason those guys don't share and grow. You know, one of the very valuable things I got in my time in the car business was I joined what's called a 20 group. And we would get 20 car dealers together every quarter and share financials, best practices, best ads, best whatever. And every month you had to turn your financials in and they'd share it with everybody. And you'd say, dude, what are you spending? What is your labor cost here? Like, what is going on?
Talk about being vulnerable.
But that's
yeah.
true accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, you don't think I was looking at those numbers I was having to submit before.
Right.
I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to hear about that on, in January, because the accountability and I don't care what the guy in Philadelphia is doing in his car dealership. I will help him. He'll help me because somebody's not going to fly from Philadelphia to pick up a car in Colorado Springs. Well, they would now probably, but at the time, at the time they wouldn't. But that's the thing. It's like surround yourself with people doing what you're doing, and figure out how to help each other. You know? And I mean, in the modern era, there's it's a text away.
Mm-hmm.
You find somebody has a really great social media saying, hey, you do this, I'd love to help you. What can I do to help you? You can kind of give me some pointers, because that in the speed of everything, there's so many opportunities to engage other people. And when I was doing that, we didn't have Zoom calls or Google Meets. You jumped on a plane. You jumped on a plane.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. You're on a plane. We met somewhere different every quarter. You can hop on a weekly call, like accountability call. You could do so many things that make it so valuable that weren't around back then. And that's again, find good people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all, and we just said about relationship, but there's so many cool things that you can do. There's no excuse, honestly, to not have it.
Yeah. So we recently here in Colorado Springs started a videography co-op, and we're capping it at 10. Edgar's in it too. But we have like 8 members so far, and we all get together and we share like our goals and hold each other accountable on those goals as well too. And we also share techniques like videography techniques, and we have like once a month we get together, 10 of us. We're all in the same market though, so it's kind
Sure.
of crazy that we're even doing that in the same market.
Right.
Yeah, but we are.
But
and
is
it's
there
awesome.
plenty to go around?
Yes, there is.
Absolutely.
Exactly. It's pretty cool.
I mean, there's wedding photographer groups that get together.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
At mass,
Yeah,
right? And so
There's just a recent one, I think, actually.
sure, but that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of weddings to go around, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
so and everything from filming social content to taking pictures of. I mean, there's so much. There's more business than you could. So a lot of us get really tight about secrets, and there's really no secret sauces. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no reason you can't build something, grow, have everybody grow together. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know that I have any specific secrets that I wouldn't just tell somebody that if they wanted to sit down and talk.
Yeah. In those meetings, I usually end up saying things, and after the meeting, sometimes I'm like, should I have said that?
Right.
But then it's all good.
When you become good enough at your craft, like you can give people like tact, like you can give so much. Like we talked about Hermosi before. That's
Right.
I mean, this guy gives away things
I mean,
that
for
others are paying
Right.
thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for,
Absolutely.
and he's giving away better
Yeah.
content
Sure.
for free.
Right.
Why is he doing that? Well, there's a lot of reasons why he's
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that, but one, it's definitely because he wants to build people up and to have them build up their business from whatever stack they're in their business journey. Right.
Well, that's his
But it's-
business model.
it's
Because he
buying
wants
those
to-
businesses,
wants
right.
to buy us.
But it's trustworthy. He's established somebody you can trust, and because of that,
Exactly.
if I'm going to sell a business, who am I going to probably call first?
Right.
Talk about building on the jab, 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 right hook. He likes to build on top of that, and he likes to say, give, and never jab. Actually, give until they ask.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But anybody that's been around Gary Vee for a long time, who would?
Oh yeah, he
who would-
originated that.
Who
yeah.
would right? But who wouldn't kill to do whatever it took to get in front of him for 20 minutes?
for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
they're going to come to you. You're not going to need to do anything.
Exactly.
I wonder how many board seats he's been offered or how much equity he's been
yeah.
offered over the years. Right. So
Oh yeah.
it's the truth.
Mhm.
And the more you're willing to put yourself out there to help other people, it all comes. It's karma. It all comes back.
The law of
It's-
reciprocity.
It's been done. What all the help and mentorship and stuff has been given to me. That's what I want to do is give it back to other people too. I make gambles on people all the time, and like we talked about, people gambled on me, and that's what my job is I'm gambling my effort, capital, energy, time on other people.
Well, thanks for gambling on us.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that.
I think, but what I love the most about this is passion. You are passionate about entrepreneurship. You're passionate about Colorado Springs. I was born here. I lived most of my life in Colorado Springs. I love Colorado Springs, and so whatever I can do to help Colorado Springs and help the people in Colorado Springs made me an entrepreneur. If I can help other entrepreneurs in Colorado Springs, I want to do everything I can to give back. And so that's why I want to help you guys. I want to help anybody who wants help. That's why I'm here. I'm here because I believe in Colorado Springs, and I believe I want to give back to Colorado Springs the way it gave to me.
Oh man, that's such a beautiful thing to say. And yeah, we absolutely are vested. I mean, a lot of our episodes are talking about how invested we are in the future and how things are, as you were saying when you first came in here, about like you're like, man, there's cranes up everywhere, and what's going on?
I didn't even recognize from Monument Hill down. I'm like, where am I? If I would have known the street names, I mean, you go to the Interquest corridor.
Yeah,
that's
where I grew up too.
I'm like, what? I mean, they were starting on the ramps, the old Northgate exit. It was just like a kamikaze airplane turn to go up to Northgate. So, how long I've been here, my granddad, who pretty much raised me, worked for the Danella Water District before there was any houses in Glen Eagle.
Wow.
So we used to go out there in his old beater pickup truck and walk around to where they're going to put all the water lines and everything when I was a kid. It's just amazing to see, there was that Centura Hospital wasn't even there when we left. I mean, I drove by and like, what is that? It's just amazing to see what's happening. I mean, the whole North Nevada looks so different than, what I remember too.
It's growing, man. It's
No,
growing quickly.
Not a lot of edgy hotels and
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah.
gone. Well, most of them are gone.
Yeah, some of them are still there.
Yeah, there's
but
some
yeah,
couple, not for long.
they're surviving. But so we always have a couple different questions we ask at the very end
Sure.
of this, and we're starting to wrap things up. But I wanted to ask you personally, like, so what's next for Franchise Succeed?
You know, really what I think for us is we enjoy working with great folks, and we're always on the lookout for great people. I would say great people as much as great businesses, because if I find fantastic people, they'll make a fantastic business. And that's really what for me is, you know, we're looking to partner with great people who know how to build businesses and know how to train and coach other people. And I think our business is really neat because we really get to work on three facets. We get to work one on the emerging part to take a successful business and help it scale and grow through franchising. And then we help it grow in that process through our sales organization that we have. But the fun part is going to be really is when we help get to that point where we're looking to sell that to private equity, or venture capital or whatever, and help those founders take a really fun, successful exit. And we're kind of one of the only companies in this industry that does all three. And that's kind of the neat part. We get to, from birth to retirement kind of a deal. It's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Well, where can we find you?
Well, I'm at jeff@franchisesucceed.com. You can check us out on our website, and feel free to reach out on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find me on TikTok as Jeff, Jeff Franchise. And I'd love to connect with you guys in any way I can. And if you're an entrepreneur looking for somebody to run some crazy idea off a napkin to, I'd love to hear it, because that's just what I love to do. Just make the napkin so I can read it.
Yeah, make it legible.
Yeah. use red or not yellow. Yellow crayons don't work. But no, I if you've got a fantastic business and you want to figure out how to scale it and take it to the next level, I'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you
with us,
guys
man.
for making the schedule work. I'm so glad to be able to be in town for a little bit, and I do. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and anything I can help you guys, the podcast or anybody in the Springs, I'd sure love to.
Awesome.
Sweet, man.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been great having you on.
Thank you.
All right, you want to?
Yeah, thank you so much again for 100th time. We appreciate you, your support, everything that you do for us, and just we've already started exchanging some contacts in the past few months for helping
great.
Franchise Succeed and everything as well. And it's just been a great episode overall. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Episode 211.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
If you love what you see, reach out to me at franchisesucceed.com. Shoot me a DM here. I'll reach out to you as fast as I can.
All right.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I know I ran.
You're good, man. That's how we like it.